open door to new. We can hear you.
Okay, great. No echoes, right? I want to make sure there's no echo.
You sound good.
Okay, great. Let me see to navigate the Zoom. It's at 2 o'clock. Thanks for joining me. Is this a good time for everyone? Because initially people think from 6 to 7, that's a dinner time. And I think probably afternoon is better. It's also better for my schedule.
Well, it works for me today better than evening.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Okay.
Yeah, the time is good.
Good for me too.
Let's see. Give me just a moment. Let me see how to make it alive. And if not, I have to record it later. Let me just stop first, and then I'll reshare. Has anyone heard the news about the new dietary guideline?
Yes.
I bet you probably have some questions. Even myself, I do. I have to go back to the original articles and read some of the details.
Yeah, that's a big change. So we probably need to go more detail on those things.
Yeah, I hope I can just kind of give you a brief summary. And because of the change, I recorded my diet yesterday, so I will share with you.
Oh, yes, that would be great.
Okay. And so I think we're gonna just do without a live. For some reason, I don't know how to go alive. And I did it earlier, but I couldn't be able to find it anymore.
Are you going to post this one on the YouTube later on?
Yeah, the YouTube's optimized. Hiding, share. A little unusual. Okay, we'll just go ahead and start from the beginning. And okay, thank you so much for joining me. And so today's topic is about diet and our gut. Feed your gut, and feed our gut, and support our health. And since it still is January, right? January the 31st, we're still in the very first month of the new year. So I believe this is a time when many of us set New Year's resolutions. I don't know which one of you wants to share your New Year resolution. Or do you have one? And thinking about how we want to feel and live in the year ahead of us, right? So I wanted to share with you, I hope is a simple topic.
Can you hear me now?
It's a new year, right? New gut and a new you. A healthier and more energized version of you, of ourselves. And I believe this journey begins in the important place is in our gut. Ultimately is what we eat. People often ask me, what's the right diet? What's the bad diet? Is it a keto, Mediterranean, plant-based, low carbs? And honestly, the answer is nutrition is so complex. There rarely one single right diet that works for everyone. We are all built differently. Our health histories are different, our culture, lifestyles, and more importantly, our gut microbiome are different. So today, I'm not here to give you the one perfect diet. Instead, I want to help you think a little bit differently about food and give you, hopefully, I can give you some practical tools to make things better. I also wanted to be clear about one thing. This talk is separated from my clinical work. It is offering in my spare time. It's not a part, or it's not only not a part of my work, it doesn't represent my organizations. It purely from my personal interest in medicine, nutrition, and my desire to connect with you and support your health journey. Everybody knows over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates said, all disease begins in the gut. Of course, he didn't know about microbiomes, immune signals, and gut hormones, but his insight was remarkably forward-thinking. I have a special interest in nutrition. I think many of you knows I originally came here to study nutrition. Over the years, when I practice medicine, I think one thing keep on coming back again and again. Almost every chronic disease is connected in some way to gut and microbiomes. I believe our understanding of nutrition is still evolving. So it's not like we got all the right answer here. So research is ongoing. What we believed 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, has already changed. This is why the recent dietary guidelines is such a big moment. And today I want to share what I understand was new, was controversy, and how to apply it realistically in daily life without rigidities or extreme. First, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think I choose the title, A New Gut, instead of a new diet? Related question is, does everyone know how long it takes for our gut lining to completely renew itself? Who wants to guess the answer?
I've got no idea.
Just to make a guess, 20% of chance is correct, right? I have 5 answers.
Every 7 to 10 days?
Pretty close. The answer is about every 3 to 5 days. So we're literally building a new gut every few days. Isn't that amazing? So it means what you eat this week is shaping the gut you will have next week. And so our gut is not just a tube, not just for digestions, it's a living, regenerating organ. So intestinal lining renew every few days. So it is amazing. And so our gut is one of the most metabolically active tissues in our body. Okay, next related question. So the lining of a gut renew itself every 3 to 5 days. So the question is, and what kind of support our intestinal lining renew?
About B?
B, healthy microbiome. Yes, that's the very important part. And I think the correct answer is all the above.
Okay.
Yeah. So our food definitely influenced the microbes living in our gut. And also the food strengthening our mucous barrier, the nutrient to build our intestinal linings. And blood flow is very important for gut healing itself. So the answer is eat all of the above. Okay. So we often think our health is determined mostly by our genes. It is true, but we share almost identical genes. Although we came from a different part of the world, our DNA is 99% identical. But what makes each one of us truly different is our microbiome. Each one of us carries a very unique living microbe community. And it is our biological fingerprint. It is very dynamic. It changes with what we eat, how we sleep, how stressed you are or we are, even how often we move or exercise. And the microbiome helps shapes metabolisms, immune functions, inflammation, and resilience. Yeah, it is how well we adapt to stress, and over time is rely on our microbiomes. So when we talk about food, we're not just talking about calories. We're talking about ecosystems. So this is one of my favorite concepts. So we're not just human. We are human microbial ecosystems. So there are 38 trillions of microorganisms living on and inside of us. They include bacteria, virus, archaea, fungi, parasite. The surprising fact is our human body has about 200 cell types, 200 cell types, but we host over 1,000 of a microbial species. It carrying many more genes than our human genomes. So they have more genes than our genomes. So we carry more DNA fingerprint for microbiomes. And so they also actively influence how we process food, regulate inflammations, even how we aging. So importantly, this ecosystem changes over lifespan. So when we were 20 years old and when we are 60 years old are different. And so that means what support us well at one stage of life may need change later. So that's why we have to constantly know our body's need. When we say microbiome, many people think only about the gut, but microbes is actually everywhere. It lives in our gut, but it also in our mouth, in the skin, in the nasal passage, lungs, urinary, vaginal tract, even interacting with our brain. And the brain is not sterile. So these microbes talks to immune systems, talk to our nerve system all the time. So gut health doesn't only stay in our gut. It influences our whole body, how we feel, how we respond to stress, how resilient we are over time. So this is a summary about what microbes can do for us. And especially microbes can do things our own body cannot do. First is digest the fibers. We, as a human, cannot digest fiber by ourselves, but we eat fiber for what? For microbes. And the microbes turn fiber into very important component compound called short-chain fatty acid. And the short-chain fatty acid, it fuels our colon cells. Why colon cancer become more prevalent now? We're lack of a short-chain fatty acid. Short-chain fatty acid also improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation. This is one reason fiber is very powerful, which means fruit, vegetables, and beans, lentils, and whole grains. Important part is a whole grain. So our microbes enable and our bodies to produce a very important compound called the short-chain fatty acid. And the second is make essential compound. So we often hear, oh, I need a vitamin K2, I need vitamin Bs. What produce the vitamins? Our microbes help produce vitamin K, B vitamins, and even some precursors of neurotransmitters. And this compound influence our appetite, metabolisms, and energy balance. And the very important part is to train the immune systems. And so it teach our immune systems what is a friend, what is a foe. And if the training goes very well, inflammation is controlled. When it doesn't, we see people develop allergies, autoimmune conditions, chronic inflammatory conditions. Even when people are diagnosed with cancer, one of the most important and frustrating question is, why do some people respond to treatment well and others are not? For a long time, we believe the answer was most about the genes. Oh, you got a bad genes, you got this devastating cancers. So now more and more emerging research shows that gut microbiome play a very important roles in how patient responds to cancer treatment, especially the immunotherapy. Examples is melanoma. We know immunotherapy is an important part of treatment. PD-1, PD-L1 immunotherapy can dramatically contribute to different outcomes. The study now shows that the difference strongly associated diversities of our gut microbiome. And the certain gut bacteria appear to enhance immune activations, while others may blunt the immune response. Even my son is currently involved in research and to study why melanoma patients respond so differently to PD-1, PD-L1 therapy. And the microbiome has emerged the key factor here. This doesn't mean the gene not important, but it doesn't mean modifiable factors, the things that we can control and make a difference here. Is also important for detoxifications and process medicines. And microbes help our process toxins, hormones, bile acid, and even stone formations, why so many people get gallstones, and influence on some medications are absorbed and metabolized. This is one reason same medications may affect two people very differently. And finally is to communicate with our brain. And our microbes send signals that affect our mood, stress, sleep, and cognitions. So this has happened through what we call gut-brain immune axis. So without microbes, many core our functions are would simply not work appropriately. So now we have set a stage for why the gut and the microbiome matters. Let's take a practical point and talk about food. What we choose to eat affect our gut microbiomes and our entire systems. This is a little summary. So before we jump into the dietary guidelines, I want to pause and answer just a very practical questions is what actually feed the microbiome. The important, I think, message here is not a single powerful food, is the diversities. Beneficial microbes thrive on diverse plant fibers from vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, whole grains. Different microbes prefer different fibers. So variety matters more than just a single perfect food. And the second part is a fermented food. So first, fiber. Second is a fermented food like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut. That can help introduce and support beneficial bacteria. Polyphenols, food like berries, olive oil, tea, coffee, cacao, herbs, and they provide multiple polyphenols. It really encourages healthy microbes to grow. Protein and healthy fat are also very important. So protein and fat are not just for muscles and hormones, and they support our gut lining and help maintain microbe balance. So here might surprise some of the people. Microbe is not only fed by the food and the regular mealtime, adequate sleep, exercise, movement, stress regulations, all influence our microbes survive and thrive. On the other hand, we all know ultra-processed food, added sugar, very low fiber diet, chronic stress, poor sleep, and can gradually shift the microbe to unhealthy direction. So when we talk about dietary guidelines, we're not talking about rules and perfections. I think I wanted to ask about a pattern. So we talk about patterns, and the patterns support our ecosystem is the consistencies. So with this in mind, let's look at what's new in the
I'll be
diet.
right with you.
I'm sorry.
What's new debate?
I'm doing a
Zoom meeting.
Oh, sorry, do you have a question?
Do a Zoom meeting.
Oh, so the Zoom call.
Okay, let's talk about what's new in the dietary guidelines. We'll still debate
Surgery come out okay?
how to apply them individually.
Can everybody mute? Can everybody mute? I mean, other than Dr. Sun?
Okay. So
Thank you.
Mute you. Okay. So this is a new reversed pyramid. I think we grew up with the old food pyramid that placed the green at the base and the protein at the center. The new approach looks a little different. I believe one of the biggest win and the most important and powerful shift is start with real food. Real food means whole, nutrient-dense food that exists in nature. Food your body and microbe can actually recognize. If we take our grandmother to the grocery store and what she can recognize is more like a whole food. This is represent, I think, a move away from focusing on single nutrient and numbers or calorie count towards overall food qualities. It's not low fat, low calorie labels, but a food that truly nourish our body. I think this is aligned with what we just talked about, gut health. Microbes respond far better to real minimal processed food than processed food product. The next message, I think equally important, is eat the right amount for you. We know processed food blunt our satiety signals. That's why, and there's a whole nationwide GLP-1 deficiencies. Everyone wants to try GLP-1 because we blunted our satiety signals. And these new guidelines, they move away the wording of a one size fit all about a calories target, and they want us to pay attention to portion size and the internal signals. But I believe this is a need a little bit training, including myself, like chewing, eat slowly, mindful eating, choosing the right food sequence. I think different people might have a different need based on age, activity levels, muscle mass, metabolisms, and health conditions. So this is where I think listening to your body and noticing hunger, fullness, and energy matters more than just follow the simple calorie rules. And this is a more complex. I'm going to spend a little time here. What actually different in this update? Why it should matter to you? There are several meaningful shifts. And first is a protein matters more than before. It's not just for athlete, but for everyday health. And protein is important because it supports our muscles, metabolism, blood sugar, and healthy aging. Emphasize on quality, and the protein can come from many sources, plants, dairy, seafood, and animal food. You can see the large kind of food choices on the left corner side. And the second guidelines more open to full fat dairy. Full fat dairy. This is probably we have to get used to, right? Even I go to Costco, I couldn't find a whole fat yogurt or kefir, so I have to go to Whole Food. This is a reflect a growing recognition that fat in whole food doesn't automatically equal harm for everyone, but context matters. So what the food is, how it's processed, how you cook it, right? What else in that diet is also important. Third is there is renewed focus on healthy fat. This includes fat from whole food, in more traditional sources, and still remaining not overdue saturated fat, and still kept the same limit, about 10% of daily calorie intake. This is there's more nuance on this fat quality matters. And so the next slide, I'm gonna go through the details of what I ate yesterday. Fourth, sugar. And it's added a very clear message here. So less added sugar is better for metabolic health, right? And especially for children. So no sugar, no added sugar for children under age 10. Less added sugar, definitely better for metabolic health, insulin balance, sensitivities, gut microbes. This is the area where the science is consistent and strong. And finally, the big change, and this is the first time I think in guidelines, and they advise people limiting ultra processed food, avoid packaged, ready to eat type of food, and especially with long ingredient. Important for microbes is ultra processed food tends to feed inflammation, not other than beneficial microbes. So it is important to avoid ultra processed food. Because we're eating kind of more than 50–60% are ultra processed food, a lot of us didn't realize what we're eating is a processed food. So this is need a little bit more exercise to do. So many of you know I'm off this week on vacation. So I had a little bit extra time to record what I eat and eat a little bit more clean, but this is my typical diet for the past, I would say 5 to 8 years, at least. I just mentioned about the guidelines. You might feel a little bit abstract. So let's translate them into a daily choice and the actual plate. On the left, you see the new guideline. It's changed to a framework. It's a reference point for our general guide. On the right side, you see what I actually ate yesterday. I will work through my plate, map it directly to the guideline categories and the surprising findings. Starting with the protein. Protein is important, we all know. It both for satiety and the metabolic stabilities. Why guidelines start with the protein? Protein come first, I believe. They set it up on purpose. Protein set a tone for the whole body, increase satiety hormones, and stimulate GLP-1. So we feel full sooner and longer. I don't know if you heard about the concept about thermic effect. Who heard about thermic effect? Is how much calories you burn when you eat certain food. Protein-rich food, we have to use 20 to 30% of the calories to digest and metabolize the protein. And we need 5 to 10% calorie to digest carbohydrate and almost zero to fat. So you can just absorb all the calories from fat. Proteins support muscle mass. Muscle mass, we know, is very important. Protects our metabolisms, sugar, and including healthy aging, right? The wrinkles from where? From a lack of collagen, lack of our proteins. And but when we're getting older, our protein absorptions and utilization become less efficient. So we need a higher amount of protein. So the protein, the guideline is 1.2 to 1.6 gram per kilogram. So a little bit less than a gram per pound. I roughly between 0.6 to 1 gram per pound. So I did a calculation in the past and always around 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram. Is align my activities because I do exercise minimum 45 minutes a day and tends to do a little bit on the intensive side, occasionally do just walking. So what I ate yesterday from salmon, 2 eggs, tofu, kefir, sheep cheese, 1 cup of beans, lentils, and seasoned nuts. Total estimated protein is about 120 grams. So I'm about 120 pounds, a little over probably. So is about 1 gram per pound. So tofu, I do recommend sprouted tofu, especially for people vegan or vegetarian. Vegetables, the guideline is over 3 servings, 3 cups per day. I try to do 6 cups and more. Cooked, if I'm busy, I'll do salad. Add a little bit of sauerkraut or kimchi or tempeh or kefir. That's kind of easy to get.
When they took the,
And
is the mama in the box?
is
No, I didn't see it.
probably too easy. Fermented food.
Go ask him.
Oh, if you got the mommy.
Yeah, the mama.
But
Excuse me, can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
Okay, fermented food in general are more easy to digest, but is higher in histamine. So if you never eat fermented food in the past, you have to start slow because it generates more gas and bloating for some people. It's a feed for your right side of your colon. Fruit is 2 servings. So no, remember, there's a limit, and generally is 2 to 3 servings. So it's not the more the better. So I ate half pomegranate and 1 large kiwi. So it's just me the guideline. Dairy, this is a little big change. It recommend 3 servings, and also is a full fat preferred. So I ate half a cup of kefir. So it's about half serving and 1 ounce of sheep cheese. I chose the sheep cheese is I couldn't tolerate milk, but I don't want to supplement calcium. So I choose cheese. Generally speaking, I can tolerate the cheese. And then later on, I find out sheep cheese doesn't bother me at all. It's relatively easy to digest. And so it a higher MCT oil. So it fit my need. So I don't drink milk, I eat cheese. But I only eat about 1.2 servings yesterday. It's slightly below the guidelines. And whole grains, I try to implement 1 cup to 1.5 cups cooked beans and lentils. So the recommendation is still 2 to 4 servings. And I find 1.5 cups feed my need because it helps my motions very good and very on time. And too much may cause bloating, too little, not enough fibers. So adequate amount support your microbiomes is very important. When you prepare the greens and the legumes is very important because a lot of people concerned about glyphosate, right? Glyphosate, fatty acid. Fatty acid is not all bad for us. It has anti-cancer capacities, but too much is toxic, right? So soaking is very, very important. But it's very easy. If you want me to share some of the recipes, I'll be happy to. But soaking and pressure cook is important. This is usually my weekly task. I just soaking all the beans, lentils, and pot overnight or 24 hours. And then I pressure cook it for 30 minutes, and it lasts me for a whole week. Healthy fat, 4 to 5 servings. And emphasize on olive oil. But remember, olive oil doesn't have omega-3. So they emphasize 2 things. One is high quality of fat, right? That including olive oil, nuts and seed, fish, eggs, and cheese, good cheese. And omega-3 rich. This is very important. Omega-3 to 6 ratios. It is anti-inflammatories, right? Omega-3 to 6 ratio is better 1.2 or 1 to 1. If I 1.2, 1/2 is a good. So I think yesterday I passed this. So my daily total calorie yesterday, this is very easy. You just ask a ChatGPT. They help you calculate, but sometimes they make a mistake. You have to do a little bit of consistency. Ask them, check it periodically. But my MyFitnessPal is also good. So I don't count my calorie. I more count my protein, my fiber, my good fat, my polyphenols. Saturated fat, I do count from time to time. Remember, 10% for majority of us. So my calorie yesterday was 2,200 to 2,400. I eat about 120 to 130 grams of protein. Fat is about 100 grams. Carbohydrate is about 120 grams. Fiber is about 50 grams. Saturated fat is about 20 grams. So it is a really reasonable range, I feel. One of the facts that surprised me was calcium. So I ate kefir, sheep cheese, chia seeds, beans, and vegetables. Based on my calculations several times, it's still below 1,000. So based on my age, I need 1,200 milligrams. So I'm really like a little borderline or below recommended daily intake. So that surprised me. So I think that's why the guideline recommends 3 servings of dairy to meet a calcium need, because it is easy to miss, even with a very good diet. So now I know I probably need additional 250 milligrams of calcium supplement, or maybe I intentionally have to add half cup of kefir, 1 ounce of cheese, since I meet the saturated fat need. But as I mentioned to you earlier, saturated fat doesn't translate to bad health for general healthy people. But the context is important. So I do want you see your own health and maybe discuss with me or some other health providers if you have a question. So just in summary, protein first, It feeds satiety, muscle metabolisms, and aging. Vegetables give us a fiber, polyphenol. It support our microbiome. Fruit is our powerful antioxidant. It supports diversity. It's not like, oh, pomegranate is the best. I just eat it every single day. No, today you wanted to do different. So 30 different varieties of vegetables and fruit per week. I would say 20 to 40 is more practical. And per week is the goal. Dairy, calcium is not a calories, but for some people really cannot tolerate any dairy. And there's some calcium fortified food, right? Tofu, like sprouted tofu is a good source. Tempeh and some vegetables and nuts has a calcium. And you do a little calculation. And then on top of that, if you need additional low dosage of supplement, I still support that. The whole grains and legumes, and it's a fermentable fiber in a good amount. So everybody tolerates this a little bit differently. You have to see your personal need. So healthy fat, quality matters, and sodium and is also context matters. Sodium less than 2,300 milligrams, but it also depends on your activity levels, what exercise you do, right? How much sweat you had, and overall your diet patterns. Like now we know the potassium and the sodium ratio is more important. So finally, I'll just remind this guideline written for general population. They're not meant to replace individuals' care, right? So we all have different health conditions, age, medications, activity levels. We came from different cultures. So I want to understand the logic behind of each categories, so we can adapt them more thoughtfully without just restrictions or feel guilty about it. This is a simple swap because I know a lot of us like potato chips, think about nuts and seeds, apple slices with nut butters. And if you still like sugary breakfast cereals, consider steel cut, quinoa, right? And added a little bit of fruit, real fruit for flavors. And replace deli meat to fresh cut poultries and meat, seafood. And I like a whole food deli. So if I have to eat outside, especially by myself, I just go to Whole Food. They do have a variety of choices and is relatively cheaper compared to going to a restaurant. And the soda and the fruit drinks, I highly discourage anybody to drink those. Water is probably the best. And if you sweat a lot, I do recommend you add a little bit of salt. And the bread, there's a lot of controversies about what is a really good bread, but one common consensus is the white bread is not good. But I understand in the current market, the bread, I would say 10 to 15% are good, real whole grains. So you really have to looking for whole grain, not a multi-grain, not whole wheat. So it has to be whole grain. It is also important to know that these guidelines are not without controversies. I think you probably heard some of those already. American Heart Association and like the focus on whole food, but also warned people and cautious about red meat, butter, tallows, and which could increase cardiovascular risk. And some criticize about the industrial ties and alcohol. They removed the daily limit. I will just briefly talk about this. And so about the fat, Is this a recommendation contradictory? So some expert has raised reasonable questions about the guidelines. They point out if we follow the recommendation about 4.5 servings of fat per day, we might exceeding the 10% limit for saturated fat very easily. And so this actually the question prompted me to do the math yesterday, or actually today, and recording from yesterday's meal. On the day I just showed you, I ate about 2,300, 2,400 calories, and 10% of calories from saturated fat would be roughly about 25 to 26 grams. When I added my own intake, I was about 22 grams saturated fat. So it's a little bit below recommended limit. So more important, I think you're probably aware of, I eat about 100 grams of fat. Majority of my fat were unsaturated fat from olive oil, nuts, seeds, and fish. And it also didn't affect my cholesterol. Actually, many years ago, when I first adopted relatively low carb, so based on my calorie intake, I belong to low carb, definitely not a keto, and the low carb diet, so it fit basically fit my need. But everybody is different. So when I first adopted this low carbs, I eat more like meat or fried food. And my LDL, the bad cholesterol, went up from 80 to 150 within just a few months during that window. I realized I have to make some changes. So I did more research about, cholesterols and diet. It's more like a saturated fat. Not every one of us can tolerate equally. Saturated fat basically can decrease the cholesterol cycling, recycles. So it may affect our LDL. And especially for me, I have a high lipoprotein A. So I changed my diet to relatively high fat, but is more unsaturated fat. And this problems basically resolved. So my LDL cholesterol has remained below 100. But I think there's an individual difference. You have to do the experiment yourself. So in summary, I feel about the fat. And I think the tone clearly shifted from avoid fat to focus on fat qualities. And it's basically align my experience. Saturated fat is still a limit for now because research is still going on. And less than 10% of saturated fat and for general populations. And so what the difference is how we interpret the number. Saturated fat from whole food like eggs, dairy, and unprocessed meat is more is not the same as a processed, ultra processed food such as pastries, right? Fast food, packaged snack, and we no longer think saturated fat is just toxic, but as a balance. And but not overconsume. So when people just look at tallows, oh, I can use tallows, but how many tablespoons of tallows you can use per day? That make a difference, right? But and I don't know how many of you use the tallow for cooking in the past or on the regular basis. Have anybody tried?
No.
No? Okay, I still remember when I was a kid, we cook with lard. So basically it's from pork. And this tallow, it's a beef tallow, is more stable and very high boiling point is about 500 Fahrenheit. So it's very stable. If you want to fry food, probably this is the best choice. Or, use a high heat. So for most people, it's just still a little bit. Butter is a 300 Fahrenheit. So it's just for 1 teaspoon, I would say a little bit of slice of butter and with the eggs. I think that's still healthy. And also it's very satious. And when I use butter and for cooking eggs, I feel like 2 eggs is enough. But otherwise, I have to eat 3 eggs. And I think, but count your protein is also important. So there's no strong evidence, moderate amount of saturated fat from whole food or minimal processed food cause harm in otherwise healthy people. But we need more research. But remember, if we use a high heat frying, repeated heating oil, or industrial processing, and it can create trans fat. So we can create a trans fat in our kitchen. And also it can damage polyphenols, right? We're cooking at 400, 450 Fahrenheit, significantly decrease polyphenols in vegetables and increase oxidative stress. So how it cooked and how often we eat, it also make a difference. So for me, this guideline reinforces a balanced approach and use mostly unsaturated fat as a daily fat, omega-3, including some saturated fat from whole food. Avoid overcooking, avoid frying. So I think, I hope these guidelines can remove some of the fear, right, from us about fat. But the portion.
Does heating with microwave affect that compared to heating?
Yeah, microwave is relatively safe, but I think how many minutes also make a difference, right? And what type of food you microwave? If you are eating this ready-to-eat meal, I think probably you may consider like change to steamed vegetables and with more whole meat, the whole food based fresh meat, and making soups. I think the easiest one I make is soup. I really like bone broth. You just throw in the chicken breast and some vegetables, broccolis, onions, carrot, and just make a pot of soup. It's so easy. It's similar like microwave, this ready-to-eat food, and then can last for several days. If you can do that, that'll probably even better. So as a fish, you can just steam some of the fish, throw some of the fish or shrimp in the pot, make a soup. That's usually very helpful. And more nutrient dense.
And I'm a little confused as to what is processed or unprocessed beets.
Processed and non-processed meat, right? Is that your question?
Yes.
And yeah, you can see its original shape, right? And color. It's just you go to the deli, and there's a meat sections, right? You get whole fresh meat, right? That's whole food. But if you go to deli, there's a ham that's processed, right? You cannot see its original shape. And although the color, they can add a color, but you cannot see the original textures of that meat. That considered processed.
Okay.
And also what else in that piece of meat? Like in the ready-to-cook or ready-to-eat meals, they often wrapped with some sugary wrappings or bread wrappings, or added some sauces with the sugars and salt, and that also change the micronutrient of that meal, right? So just be careful. So if initially you can just do salt and pepper, it's very easy. You cook a very simple pot of soup and then add salt and pepper. That's all. That's all you need.
Okay.
Okay. And then alcohol. I think initially my response, this is a kind of a little disappointed me a little bit. In the previous guideline, alcohol came very specific limit, like 1 drink per day for women, 2 for men. In the updated guideline, those numbers were removed and replaced with a simple message, drink less. At first, I feel this is very vague. So I went back and read the details more carefully. And why the guideline change in its tone on alcohol? I think this any topic can become more nuanced rather than arguing with the safe numbers, and is also so individual based. I like these guidelines on which group who should completely avoid alcohol. So this wording is strong. So for those people, you shouldn't consider alcohol at all. There's no moderation or less. One is a pregnant woman, right? People recovering from alcohol use disorders. I have many patients. And if you know alcohol could be a potential problem, just don't drink a drop. Individuals with medical conditions, if your doctor tell you, oh, this medicine interact with alcohol, no alcohol, and family history of alcoholism, that you have to be cautious. So it's not a one size fits all, right? It's a self-awareness and the shared decision-making and honest conversation. And basically, I want everybody ask yourself, if you drink alcohol, how do you feel the next day, right? Your energy levels, your sleep, your mood, does it affect your life or not? Make you be pleasant or not? So I think that's why it's so individual based. They also have a little guidelines for plant-based diet, and recognize vegetarian or vegan diet can be healthy. So if you are a vegan or vegetarian, you don't have to make changes. But they emphasize on the same as before. This vegetarian and vegan require more intentionally planning, just like what I mentioned to almost every one of you. And you have to do meal planning, especially for protein and the nutrient adequacy, right? Protein strategies for plant-based diet. And you have to more emphasize on, I would use the sprouted tofu, beans, lentils, legumes, nuts, and seeds, tempeh. So not regular tofu. I vote for sprouted tofu and tempeh. And amino acid balance also matters, right? And and I forgot. And soybean, edamame is a very good protein source for plant-based diet.
I have a question.
Sorry.
Is the Meals on Wheels, is that considered nutritious?
I think it's so meal-based. I don't know the details. And, the last slide, I'm going to share with you some of the meals on the wheels and nursing home, school. I think that's going to make a huge difference. And I think some of the providers are going to make a change pretty soon. I hope so. But for people really plant-based, I do want everyone aware of the nutrient gaps, right? Vegetarian commonly need monitor iron, B12. We don't measure choline, but you have to calculate yourself. Iodine, zinc. But if you use the iodine salt, that's good. Vegans and has more broad potential gaps, right? So I do recommend every vegan diet persons do a little bit of vitamin and mineral supplement, including vitamin A, B12, D, vitamin E, B6, calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, zinc. So basically multivitamins for vegan diet. So a well-planned plant-based diet is healthy. I wouldn't say it's not healthy. It's a healthy, and but just need planning and the target supplement when needed. I think the new pyramid guidelines may not change every one of us immediately what you eat or buy tomorrow. I think that we have to see as a group a bigger picture. Isn't about immediate changes for every plate. It's about where our food system is heading. That's the question. And like Meals on Wheels, right? Especially in places where people don't really have a choice. And you think about a school food, a cinnamon roll should not be considered a whole food breakfast. Sugary beverage should not be default options for children. I think right now the school food is pretty unhealthy based on my opinion. And I have 2 kids. Initially, I let them choose 100% school food because I don't want to single them out. But now I regret, because initially I want to support them to eat the same food the other kids. And now I really regret because I didn't give them a consistent whole food-based diet during the lunchtime for many, many years. And the nursing home, right, where many elderly already have a cognitive declines, food there shouldn't increase inflammation, frailties, and loss of function. I often think about myself when I'm getting older, right? I think I sent a message, many of you already know, my mom is in nursing home right now. When I visit her, I couldn't tolerate the food they give her. Every meal, although it's a very well-planned meals, have a sugary beverage, dessert, and a big piece of dessert. And I think the truth is Americans are sick, especially our young kids. And the painful realities is 70% of our young adults aged between 18 to 22 don't qualify for military service because of metabolic health. So I think that this is bigger than our individual choice. It's about what kind of food environment we are creating and we're living for our next generations. Okay, so I think this is most of the messages I wanted to convey to this group, our group, and I want ending by coming back to our title, New Year, New Gut, a New You. Are you ready for it? Your gut is not static. It renews itself every few days. Our microbiomes adapt to our diet. It's a small, consistent choice can shift our health over time. So it's not about one perfect meal. It's about consistencies. This is very, very important. Consistencies, regularities send signals to our gut, to our microbiome, and support our whole health. Okay, and so is it 3 o'clock? And do you have any questions?
No, but thank you so much. A lot of information, great information.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. And so feel free to send a message, but I have to let everyone know I and receive about 40 emails on the daily basis. But during the day, I do have scheduled the appointment. So if I have a 1 or 2 days delay in returning a message, please forgive me. If you have any urgent request, you put urgent on the title or call the call center. And I'm very happy to help you. And I really want every one of you be healthier this year and have a very good, happy life in front of you. Okay, you take care.
Thank
Bye.
you, Dr. Sun.
Blessings to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye,
Have
Dr.
a nice
Sun.
weekend.
Thank you.